Government, a raft of measures was put in place to ensure that victims of the post-election violence can get justice. And the honors of establishing a local tribunal as per the Waki report to try all the suspects in the country was left on the shoulders of Martha Karua, then Justice Minister. Karua drafted a bill that sought to have a local mechanism, but with international judges presiding in the cases. But a hostile parliament on February 12, 2009 could not hear any of Karua's argument on grounds that some individuals could be sacrificed based on their political affiliations. And so, after throwing out the bill, the MPs opted to have The Hague take over the matter, thwarting even efforts by Imenti Central MP Gitobwi Manyara to reintroduce a similar bill.
The bill clearly differentiates between culprits and minor collaborators. The chief perpetrators go to The Hague. Their names are contained in an envelope. The other violators will be dealt with here in accordance with the law without distinction as to their community, their status in life, their official capacity.
And so with time running out, ICC stepped in saying the Kenyan case would serve as an example to the rest of the world and that impunity would not be entertained in the modern world.
That Kenya will be an example. And some people misunderstood this idea.
On November 26, 2009, Moreno Ocampo, the ICC chief prosecutor, filed a request to the ICC seeking authority of the court to investigate crimes allegedly committed in Kenya. On the 31st of March 2010, the pre-trial chamber 2 issued its majority decision that there was reasonable ground to allow the prosecutor to proceed with investigations into the Kenyan situation. On the 15th of December 2010, ICC requested the issuance of summons to 6 Kenyan individuals: Eldoret North MP William Ruto, Tinderet MP Henry Kosgei, radio journalist Joshua Arap Sang, Postmaster General Hussein Ali, and Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta, and Head of Public Service and Secretary to the Cabinet Ambassador Francis Mudhaura, who are believed to bear the greatest responsibility in the post-election violence. And in April 2010, Ruto, Kosgei and Sang finally found themselves in The Hague. The Kenyan post-election case was finally in the hands of the International Criminal Court.
Kenyans on 27th of December 2007 trooped into various polling centers to cast their votes in what perhaps was a hotly contested presidential elections in her history. The results were heartbreaking, and it was a tense moment for the country, with exit polls indicating the incumbent President Mwai Kibaki of PNU and Raila Odinga of ODM on a neck-to-neck race to State House. And it was the long wait that sparked anxiety in the nation, leaving Kenyans pregnant with expectations.
This means Honorable Mwai Kibaki is the winner. The Commission therefore declares Honorable Mwai Kibaki as the President of Kenya.
And the nation burst into fire the moment Kivuito announced the results, dampening hopes of those who had called for a delay in the exercise until factual tallying is ascertained. In days to follow, Kenya was in the precipice of collapse. The nation was in an abyss of anarchy, and locals took up weapons against each other, and burning fires and looting became the symbol of a nation that once stood as a one people. Families were displaced, women were raped, and before an easy calm returned, more than 1,000 had been killed in the skirmishes which came to be known as post-election violence. More than 500,000 people were left homeless and found themselves in tattered camps. African Union Chairman and Ghanaian President John Kufuor later arrived in Nairobi to mediate, but his efforts proved fruitless. However, the intervention of the eminent persons led by former UN Secretary Kofi Annan brought the two antagonists on the negotiating table, which later culminated into the signing of the National Accord that gave birth to the coalition government. Under the accord, a commission on inquiry into post-election violence was instituted, led by appellate Judge Philip Waki. Justice Waki would later, in October 2008, hand over his report to the government with recommendations that included an establishment of a local tribunal of local and international judges to investigate and prosecute perpetrators of the 2007-2008 political skirmishes. The report further recommended that if the local tribunal could not be formed within 6 months, the contents of the report will be handed over to the ICC. Waki also presented a sealed envelope to Annan that was thought to contain names of individuals who bore the greatest responsibility in the post-election violence. And so, with Kenya's failure to establish the tribunal, ICC prosecutor Luis Moreno Ocampo stepped in, saying he would prosecute 4 to 6 suspects.
In a ruling that will now tone down anxiety among Kenyans, presiding judge of the ICC's pre-trial chamber 2, Ekaterina Trenda-Filova, read the court's decision to commit 4 of the Ocampo 6 to full trial after confirming that indeed they have a case to answer over the infamous post-election violence of 2007 and 2008. Eldoret North MP William Samoei Ruto, Deputy Prime Minister Uhuru Kenyatta, Head of Public Service Francis Mudhaura, and radio presenter Joshua Arap Sang will now have to defend themselves at The Hague.
Pre-trial Chamber 2 confirmed the charges against Mr. Ruto as an indirect co-perpetrator with others, while it found that Mr. Sang contributed to the commission of said crimes against humanity with respect to the criminal responsibility of Mr. Mudhaura and Mr. Kenyatta. The Chamber was satisfied that the evidence also established substantial grounds to believe that they are criminally responsible for the alleged crimes as indirect co-perpetrators.
The court declined to confirm charges against Tinderet MP Henry Kosgei and former police boss Hussein Ali on grounds that they lacked sufficient grounds to believe that they were criminally responsible of the alleged crimes. In her ruling, Trenda-Filova said whereas there were sufficient grounds to believe that the alleged crimes were actually committed in Nandi Hills and Kapsabet, there was no evidence to link Henry Kosgei with the atrocities.
In relation to Mr. Kosgei, the Chamber found that the prosecutor's evidence failed to satisfy the evidentiary threshold required.
And the alleged responsibility of former police boss Hussein Ali in crimes against humanity in Nakuru and Naivasha, the court similarly found no evidence that Ali had taken part.
The Chamber found that the evidence presented does not provide substantial grounds to believe that the Kenya police participated in the attack in or around Nakuru and Naivasha.
Even having found a reason to commit the 4 suspects to trial, Ekaterina said the suspects will continue to enjoy their liberty as long as they adhere to the conditions imposed on them by the court.
The decisions issued today by this chamber do not affect the liberty of the accused, which remains undisturbed.
On those acquitted, the judges said they cease being ICC suspects, but if the prosecution wishes, it could appeal to reinvestigate them for another pretrial determination. Victims who may wish to participate in the trial are free to apply, and those who may wish to be compensated can apply for reparation. It was the first time in the history of the ICC that the ruling was delivered in an empty court, devoid of the prosecutors and the suspects' legal teams. For now, the 4 will have to await the setting up of another court by ICC President before their trial commences. However, the 4 can still appeal against the ruling. Kendagor Obadia for the News at 9.
Perhaps the mood had already been set. The anxiety that surrounded the home of the Eldoret North legislator could just tell the magnanimity of the ICC ruling and the implications to follow. Friends and legislators thronged this home in a show of solidarity to their fellow comrade at this hour of reckoning. And finally, when ICC threw its thunderball, it was utter dismay to many, including Ruto himself. But Ruto said his spirit is not faltering and his eye is set on the ultimate political prize, calling on Kenyans to be calm as he navigates the tides already placed on his route by the International Court.
These allegations against me have been, are, and will forever be strange to me.
His